His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Radhe Shyam Ki, Shri Lakshmi Nrsimha Dev Ki, Shri Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to their Samu devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to their Samu devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, so Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna again and again and again. And we have been requested to say some words and read something about the holy names. What a subject. Oh, Krishna. Wow, I don't deserve it. But anyway. From who is it? From Devaki Priya? No. I guess from...
Who's in the garden shop?
Who? Okay. Thank you very much to whoever made it. Huh? Sadhu Priya. Oh, really? Yes, well, devotees and friends, let us launch into the subject and just dive in head first. Let us just try to drown in this subject. Let me see, where should we start? Well, we are going to read a few verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela chapter 8, titled, The Author Receives the Orders of Krishna and Guru. And let's see, where shall we start? Gosh. Okay. Anyway, let us just for the time being, please repeat after me. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Right, I mean, all these verses are just so interesting. Yeah, I'm going to start though with verse, it looks like verse 20 of chapter 8 of Adi Leela Chaitanya Charitamrita. And what I'll do, I'm going to read a whole lot of verses. I'll just read the Bengali for a few of them, and then I'll just read the translations. Right, so verse 20. Hena prema Sri Chaitanya, Dila yata tata, Jagai madai, Paryanta, Anyera ka kata. Translation. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, including in Gordon's Bay. Even to the most fallen, such as Jagai and Madai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated? And let's have a look at verse 21. 2. Swatantra Ishvara Prema Nigudha Bandara Bila ila yare tare Nakaila Vichara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is fully independent. Therefore, although it is the most confidentially stored benediction, he can distribute love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without consideration. That's including all of us or all of you, nice devotees. Adyapiha Deka Chaitanya Namayelai Krishna Preme Pulakashru Vivala say hi. Whether he is offensive or inoffensive, anyone who even now chants Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda is immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy and tears fill his eyes. Wow. So anyone who now chants, what do they chant? Okay. I think it's more like Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Like what?
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Wow. I see some of you look overwhelmed with ecstasy. I don't see any tears yet, but anyway, that'll come in due course. Yes, okay, so that's beautiful, isn't it? Whether a person is offensive or inoffensive, if they just chant the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, then just, amazing transformations take place within them. It's just truly amazing and wonderful. And so I'll just now read the translations. Simply by talking of Nityananda Prabhu, one awakens his love for Krishna. Thus all his bodily limbs are agitated by ecstasy, and tears flow from his eyes like the waters of the Ganges. So now getting a little more serious. Well, anyway, you could say getting a little bit more serious now. This is verse 24. There are offenses to be considered while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one does not become ecstatic. Does not or may not perhaps become ecstatic. If you commit offenses, you won't. And then this is now the translation of the Bhagavatam, verse 2-3-24. If one's heart does not change, tears do not flow from his eyes, his body does not shiver, and his bodily hairs do not stand on end as he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it should be understood that his heart is as hard as iron. This is due to his offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. Now that's serious, isn't it? And there's a very interesting little passage. It's in Madhurya Kadambini, the chapter dealing with offenses. And there, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes the point that someone may say, someone who's chanting Hare Krishna may say, I'm not committing offenses. But the fact that one actually is shown by the fact that one's heart, ecstatic symptoms like tears flowing from one's eyes, shivering of the body, bodily hairs standing on end, these things do not happen when you chant Hare Krishna. And it's pretty dramatic verse. Then it should be understood that that person's heart is as hard as iron. What can I say? I'm sitting here. Tears are not flowing from my eyes, you may have noticed. So what to do? Well, what to do is carry on. Just carry on and keep trying your best. And then from time to time, things will happen. And then maybe they'll happen more often. So anyway, this is what happens. So, yes, this is now verse 26. Simply chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without offenses vanquishes all sinful activities. Thus pure devotional service, which is the cause of love of Godhead, becomes manifest. Yes, okay, and I'm going to just sort of jump a couple of verses forward. Okay, this is verse 28. As a result of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one makes such great advancement in spiritual life that simultaneously his material existence terminates and he receives love of Godhead. The holy name of Krishna is so powerful that by chanting even one name, one very easily achieves these transcendental riches of your material existence terminating and just sort of dissolving and disappearing. And on the other hand, receiving love for Krishna. The holy name of Krishna is so powerful. If one chants the exalted holy name of the Lord again and again, and yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop, and tears do not appear in his eyes, it is evident that because of his offenses in chanting, the seed of the holy name of Krishna does not sprout. Pretty dramatic, isn't it? Are you okay? No one's in shock or feeling disturbed? But now, aha, ha, ha, ha. Oh, listen to this. But, this is verse 31. But if one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, very quickly he's cleansed of all offenses. Thus, as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he feels the ecstasy of love for God. Let me just read that again. But if one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, very quickly he's cleansed of all offenses. Thus, as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he feels the ecstasy of love for God. And it's, yes, this is 32. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, is greatly magnanimous. Unless one worships him, one can never be liberated. You caught that? Unless one worships him, Lord Chaitanya, one can never be liberated. You worship Lord Chaitanya, right? Right. And Lord Nityananda? Yes, of course. Very good. Good girl. Continue. Because one day, you know what's going to happen? One day you'll be sitting here and some young people will be sitting where you are, and you'll be extolling the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Yes, okay, now, well, that's about it, I guess. Yeah, right. that's it. Let me see if there's a little bit of purport to read here. Okay, let me read the purport of the last verse that I read, which was 32, which said, unless one worships Lord Chaitanya, one can never be liberated. So, short purport, Malfan says, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur here remarks that one should not give up the worship of Radha Krishna to worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By worshipping either Radha Krishna or Lord Chaitanya alone, one cannot become advanced. One should not try to supersede the instructions of the 6 Goswamis, for they are acharyas and very dear to Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur sings, Rupa Raghunatha Pade. Rupa Raghunatha Pade, Haibe Akuti, Kabe Hama Bujaba Se, Yugala Piriti. One must be a submissive servant of the 6 Goswamis, from Srila Rupa Goswami to Raghunath Das Goswami, not following their instructions, but imagining how to worship Gaura Sundar and Radha Krishna is a great offense, as a result of which one clears a path to hell. If one neglects the instructions of the 6 Goswamis and yet becomes a so-called devotee of Radha Krishna, he merely criticizes the real devotees of Radha Krishna. As a result of speculation, he considers Gaura Sundar to be an ordinary devotee and therefore cannot make progress in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Radha Krishna. So let's say a few words about this. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaya Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadi Shatane Vanchkalpaturibhyasta Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yes, well, this is our subject matter is the chanting of the holy names. And these verses we've just read, quite a number of verses, and the little purport we read, they are really addressing some just absolutely essential and most important and most wonderful points that we need to understand to start off with, accept, and really take within our hearts and keep them stored within our hearts and protect them. Don't let anything undesirable come and sort of interfere with your relationship with them. It's very important. Yeah. It's said that these instructions and other similar instructions about pure devotional service and Krishna consciousness, and here particularly the chanting of the holy names, these are like valuable treasures, really valuable treasures, like gold and diamonds and jewels and so on like that. But the conditioned mind and the conditioned senses, they are like thieves. And thieves, they always want to steal the treasures. So one has to protect that treasure, the treasure of the holy names. One has to protect it from, the attack, the attempts of these thieves. Because, those thieves, they are very serious thieves. Don't underestimate them. That you can just tell them, go away. And they're just going to go away, and that's it. That's the end of the story. No. I diverge slightly, but I just reminded myself of a story which His Holiness Parthasarathi Maharaj told me. It was during the tent campaign days. Some of you may have been around in those days. And he was living on a bus. He had this bus. And they go from area to area doing the tent campaigns for a number of days and then moving to the next. And he'd live in the bus. And he had an assistant who was, if I remember correctly, 12 years old. How old are you now? 8. You're getting there. This boy was 12. And he was, supposedly should have been in school, but he wasn't. Anyway, so he was there staying on the bus. And one evening, one drunk gentleman got onto the bus at the front, where the entrance was, and Parthasarathi Maharaj was down the end. And this boy's name was Roshan. The boy was shouting in, it's like, well, this is, something you might not be familiar with, in Chatsworth vernacular, South African Indian English, the Chatsworth version. He was calling out, "Go away!" Not go away, but go away! Go away! And he came and told Parthasarathi Maharaj, this man is here, he won't go away. And Parthasarathi said, well, look, you're shouting at him, but you've got to be nice. Just tell him, go away nicely. So Roshan went back down there, and he said to the man, go away nicely! How did I get into that anyway? Yeah, well, the treasure, the treasure of devotional service, and particularly in this case here at the holy names, the thieves, they're determined to steal the valuable treasure. And so you've got to guard it. And how do you guard it? Well, a little elsewhere in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya makes the point that you must put a fence around, like a real fence that's going to stop the thieves. And that fence is the association of pure devotees. And then that treasure will be protected. Yes, right. So, but now the thing is here, it's such an interesting point, it's been emphasized, that if you simply chant Hare Krishna, then, of course, unless you chant without offenses, and that may be a bit of a tall order for any of us in our being in the earlier stages of Krishna consciousness. I remember once I visited a Catholic monastery in Italy, and one of the monks showed us around. And I asked him, how long you been living here? And he said, it was something like 65 years. And at that point, that was, I don't know if it was 20 years ago, but 15 maybe, I had been living in the temple, 35 years or so, and I thought I was, a bit of a senior devotee. But when he said he'd been living there for some 60 years or 65 years or something like that, I realized I'm still a new devotee. What can I say? And now I've only been living in the temple for 52 years. Wow. I'm still a new devotee. Okay, anyway. So the thing is, that Krishna consciousness, everything about Krishna consciousness is personal. There's actually nothing which is just really impersonal about or in Krishna consciousness. Even the Brahman effulgence is the effulgence of Krishna's body, so, therefore you can say it's definitely personal. You can't separate it from Krishna and then, say, well, we've just got the spiritual energy here glowing. No, it's just such an intrinsic part of the nature of Krishna. And that's about as close to being impersonal as you can get in Krishna consciousness. But otherwise, Krishna consciousness, everything is personal. And the thing about Krishna is that if you commit offenses against him, he takes it personally. Because he's a person. He takes it personally. And he does not appreciate it. And he will give you some consequences. And the consequences, particularly as we read, are that some real experience from chanting will not come so much. Then you wouldn't be able, like Valmiki, if you know the story, is the compiler of the Ramayana, and on Sunday is the appearance day of Lord Ram. So Valmiki, he was in the earlier stages, he was extremely offensive and nasty. He was terrible. He was really horrible in the extreme. But then, by the association of Narada Muni, he woke up and he understood, wow, my life is just a disaster, total disaster. I've got to just turn things right around. Otherwise, it's going to be too bad, just too bad. So he asked Narada Muni, so how can I do that? How can I improve myself and get free from all the reactions that I've accumulated through killing people and robbing people and just being so ultra offensive? And so Narada Muni said, yeah, well, you got to chant. You got to chant the holy names. So he tried to get him to chant Hare Krishna. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't somehow get his mouth and his teeth and his tongue and, all the works in there around it. So he tried, and it came out something like, no kidding. It was really something just, weird. And so Narada Muni was concerned. And then he thought that this man, he's a professional killer. Let me get him to chant a word which means death, and which is actually sort of like a name for Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. But it's the name of Lord Ram around the other way. And that, of course, was Mara. So when he said to this Valmiki, okay, I have got, I got a special mantra for you. It's just the right thing for you. Chant Mara. And this Valmiki, he knew what it meant. He knew what it meant. It means death. And so he thought, yeah, right, cool. I can chant that. So he chanted, Mara, 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 and he was into it. But then because it's Rama around the other way, once you get going, it doesn't really matter. Like some people make an issue of chanting, they say you should chant Hari Rama before you chant Hari Krishna. So, around the other way. Because they say, and it's true, that Lord Ram appeared within this world before Lord Krishna did. Of course, they are not probably aware that both Krishna and Ram descended from the kingdom of God. And who descended here first is irrelevant. But anyway, even if you say, okay, we will chant Hari Rama first, then after a little while it won't make any difference, because you're just chanting Hari Rama and Hari Krishna and Hari Krishna and Hari Rama, and what difference will it make? So anyway, Mara, Mara became Rama, Rama, and Valmiki became purified and actually became a great devotee and realized within his heart the Ramayana, which he then compiled. Yes. So anyway, in terms of taking things personally, Krishna is present in his name, or, it's like we're sort of separating Krishna from his name by saying he's present in his name. He is his name. That's the thing when you really get down to it. It's not like there is the name and he's in it, so he jumped in there somewhere or something like that. But he is his names. And so when one offends his names, Krishna takes it personally and you don't get the result. Of course, having said that, just the fact that one may be able to chant means that Krishna is not too upset with you. He's sort of, a little bit like, look at this guy. But if he was really upset with you, you'd end up like Valmiki did. You just wouldn't be able to chant. You wouldn't be able to chant. What to speak of chanting 16 rounds? Particularly say 16 rounds or 1 round maybe. The fact that one can chant particularly 16 rounds, which takes a while, means that you have some taste. You're getting something from it. If you are actually getting nothing, zero, then you wouldn't be able, maybe you could do it once or twice, but then you'd think, why bother? This is a waste of time, which some people think. because they have more offenses. So it's a very important point that there are offenses in chanting Hare Krishna because it's personal. Not just because it's like a rule or, it's like a no-no, you're not meant to make offenses or something like that. But it's very personal. Krishna just doesn't like it. He really doesn't like it. And even though he may not cut you off, but we should note that Krishna is not really happy with me. And the reason is because I'm chanting with offenses. Of course, there are the 10 offenses, I assume you all know. The 10 offenses, plus there's the 11th offense, the 11th offense. So, these offenses are there. Then we heard that Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they don't take offense. Now that's interesting, isn't it? They don't take offense. How is it that Lord Chaitanya doesn't take offense when he is Krishna? Now, did he just sort of tell himself? Anyway, listen, don't take offense, okay? You're too much of a hard man. Not really. But Lord Chaitanya is Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna. And Srimati Radharani is the tender-hearted, compassionate female aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that may well be the point. I mean, certainly it's there. Consideration. Why Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna, but now he doesn't take offense, even if you make some offenses. But he tolerates it. As a person, he tolerates it. Just like it's interesting, in Tattva Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami talks about chanting Hare Krishna and chanting Vedic mantras, like from the 4 Vedas, what technically is called Shruti, the Shruti mantras. Someone who's not a Brahmin, someone who's not twice initiated, is not, traditionally is not allowed to chant those Vedic Shruti mantras, which includes, devotees, would you believe, the Brahma Gayatri. I will not chant the whole thing, but Om Bhurva Svatat Savitur, etc., which every good Hindu, or not even good Hindus, but every Hindu just happens to know. Yeah. So Jiva Goswami discusses this. Why are non-Brahmins not allowed to chant those, like that particular Gayatri mantra, and there's so many other mantras they're just not allowed to chant. And back in the old days, that was rigidly enforced. Why? Well, Jiva Goswami explains, because those mantras are persons, and they're like hypersensitive persons. There are persons, and there are persons. And different persons have different degrees of sensitivity about how they're treated. Some people, you can just, say some bad things to them, and they couldn't care less. They may just laugh at you. Other persons, you just look at them sideways, and they want to know, why are you looking at me like that? What's wrong with you? like Devasamuni. He's such a person. You look at him sideways, and you've got to look somewhere. You can't look nowhere. You've got to look somewhere. So you just sort of glance at him, oh, it's Devasamuni. But then just like that, oh, it's Devasamuni. And he says, what are you looking at me for? What's wrong with you? And he may curse you to become what is it? A pumpkin at midnight. Who was that? Was that Sleeping Beauty?
Cinderella.
Huh?
Cinderella.
Oh, Cinderella. Sorry. Cinderella Aparad. Watch out. But really, yeah, so they are particularly sensitive people. And unless a person has a pure enough state of heart, which is reflected in the state of the consciousness, when they try to chant those mantras, there'll be sort of other mental things kind of infiltrating into their minds, and means into their attitudes when they try to chant those mantras. And those mantras are persons, and like I said, Srila Jiva Goswami says, they're very sensitive. They're very sensitive. And, if you just sort of, like in Hinduism, it's so common, they chant that, we call it the Brahma Gayatri. Sometimes they chant it 108 times or something. And what to speak of not being Brahmins, some of them, or however many, or maybe many, they're engaged in all sorts of sinful activities. Yeah, like meat eating, drinking liquor, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so, anyway, yeah. Therefore, sometimes, because some devotees have printed books, or somehow the 7 Gayatri mantras that we chant when we receive second initiation, some devotees have sort of found them here and there in different publications or wherever, different places. So they decide, I'm just going to chant Gayatri, the 7 Gayatri mantras that we chant. I mean, there's many more than 7, but we chant particular 7. And so they do it. And I've had 1 or 2 ask me, or tell me that they're doing it, and ask me, is it okay? And I've been forced to answer that it's really not okay, so best to stop until you receive second initiation. So it's like that. But Lord Chaitanya is so not insensitive, but he's just so kind. He's just so kind that he doesn't take offense. Just doesn't take offense. And therefore, well, we read that you have to chant the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and Hare Krishna. Prabhupada sort of kind of inferred, I would say a little indirectly, that we should not think that, chanting Hare Krishna, there's all these offenses, and look at me, who am I? And anyone here chanting free from offenses? Are you free from offenses? You are? Well, maybe you should come and sit here. The answer is no. Anyway, you're very nice, and we all love you. Yes, so some devotees, And actually some people, like who are in the sort of the Nityananda line particularly, they only chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra, or in some cases the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's name and Lord Nityananda's name, because they know there's special mercy there. And Prabhupada was asked, well, some devotees started doing that, and they were not chanting, they were chanting 16 rounds of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasdi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, 16 rounds. And either they told Prabhupada or asked him, or somehow Prabhupada found out, and he made the point that we don't do this. We don't do this. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just focus on that particular mantra or some variation of it? Because Lord Chaitanya himself, who came to teach and demonstrate how to be a devotee in this Kali Yuga, he chanted Hare Krishna. So therefore, we must follow him. He is our Acharya in a very, elevated sense. So we must chant Hare Krishna. But Prabhupada, I'm not aware of it being recorded as like an official statement. But one way or another, Prabhupada, it seems, instructed that we should, every round we chant, at the beginning, we should at least once chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasdi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So then go into our round of Hare Krishna, because that will give some, like a burst of purification. Yeah. So then we can really get into the next round of the Hare Krishna mantra better than we would otherwise. Yes, so that's Lord Chaitanya. He's so kind. He's so kind. So this is essential. This is essential, okay? We must chant the names, the Panchatattva Mahamantra, regularly. And like in Kirtan, I know Prabhupada suggested to chant up to 3 times the Panchatattva Mahamantra in Kirtan and then into Hare Krishna. It's not a hard and fast rule, but yeah, Prabhupada said something like that. So like this, if we do this very nicely, then our chanting, and we will become purified and will become better people and better devotees, and will become happier devotees. That's important, isn't it? Happy devotees. We don't want unhappy devotees, miserable devotees, mode of ignorance devotees or something like that. We want happy devotees. And you'll see that devotees, when you see that a certain devotee or devotees are very happy in Krishna consciousness, then you'll know it's because they're really chanting nicely. And they're chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra, and they're doing it very nicely. So there you go, devotees. Is that okay? Any questions or comments? No? Okay. Yes.
Can you suggest a prayer that we can say to Sri Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda?
A prayer?
Yeah, and like an English type of prayer, just like us like giving our heart to them or something.
Okay. Well, you could pray that, my dear Lord Chaitanya, my dear Lord Vichananda, I am a fool. But the problem is I'm such a fool, I don't know how much of a fool I am. So please help me to become humble in terms of Shikshastakam verse 3, and really chant in a humble state of mind. Please help me like that. That's a thought, that's an idea. And I think they would be quite happy to hear you pray that like that regularly. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm sure there are many sort of variations on the theme. And, you know, there are different types of prayer as described in Nectar of Devotion. Specific types of prayers, just a few. And one type of prayer which is accepted is just one's personal prayer, that one offers oneself in terms of how one feels and the situation one's in. So it's okay. I mean, it's not just okay, it's good. But then, you know, we should also, from time to time, offer like, you could say, very authorized prayers from great devotees, or, you know, from the Lord even, Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, Motherji.
So if you feel you might have caused offences knowingly or unknowingly, you just realize, you know, that the cure for that is to just carry on chanting, or?
Well, yes. You know, if you're actually aware, not just sort of feeling that, well, maybe something happened, but if you're actually aware that you did make an offense, then, well, depending on what type of offense, you should try and deal with it, sort of nullify it, something along those lines. But if, you know, in fact, there was an incident, quite famous incident. A devotee approached Srila Prabhupada and said, you know, Srila Prabhupada, I've been a devotee for some period of time already, and I just learnt today about the 10 offences, and I didn't know about them. And, you know, I'm sure I must have committed some of those offences, and, you know, I must have, for example, offended a number of devotees, unknowingly or even knowingly, but I forgot about it. So, you know, I've offended, I must have made these offences, and like particularly against devotees, but I don't know who they are, where they are, what the offence was. So what to do? And Srila Prabhupada replied that every morning you should chant Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patidanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, every day. And then those unknown offences will be nullified. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So I think we should have a little more kirtan. Is that okay?
Please, yeah.
I think we must. And then I suspect some prasadam maybe in the offing, because I can smell something. So let us do that then, devotees and friends. Let's just have a little kirtan. And, well, I tell you what, should we stand up and have a kirtan?